Hey guys, welcome back to the video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing, what might happen and what is a possibility of Joe Biden being replaced by someone else due to factors related to his age, his mental capacity, and, discussing whether that's really possible. And then later in the end of this video and towards the middle section of this video, we're going to be doing a prediction between who, if Joe Biden is replaced, who would be replacing him, and what would that outcome look like on that map. So let me start off by saying that the probability of Joe Biden being replaced to start with is probably really low, probably below 5% chance of happening. There is a possibility that's happening, but in this late stage of the election season, we're already June 22nd, we have a debate on June 27th, and the DNC conventions are really soon. So the probability and the chances that Joe Biden could even be replaced would be pretty low. As we can see here, there was an article published, actually it was published yesterday, and it does say that the Democratic Party cannot replace Joe Biden. We can see here that the June 27 presidential debates are coming up in 6 days, and there's 2 scheduled debates in this cycle. And it's in this late stage of the game, there's very little the party can do to, change the nominee when they've already been kind of like chosen by the people. Like the people already voted in the primaries. Every state has finished their primaries, and they voted for Joe Biden to be run for re-election. And it would definitely create here a major intra-party conflict. And they say that the only way that Biden can be replaced is that if he himself voluntarily steps aside and anoints Kamala Harris. So in my eyes and in many people's eyes, Kamala Harris could be the only person that could replace Joe Biden. And I can see that if he doesn't, appoint her as his successor, it would create a lot of conflict, especially. I think she'd be pretty mad about it since she is that vice president. And if this scenario ends up unfolding, which I highly doubt it's going to unfold, then I think Kamala Harris would be that one to do it. Let's take a little bit of a dive into Kamala Harris, into some polls and data that we do have on her against Trump and her own background herself. As you can see here, her approval rating is just as bad as Joe Biden. She has a 39.5% approval rating, 50% disapproval rating. She's not really liked. I think in some eyes she is more unpopular than Joe Biden. There's nothing about her that really the people like, even the Democrats. I don't really hear too much positive things coming out of their mouths about her. So she's definitely a figure that's going to probably make it even worse. And even, the polls that have been taken, there haven't been taken too many, but polls that have Trump versus Harris, this is a national vote. Trump plus 6.6. It's not even competitive at all. And this Trump 6.6 would be probably the biggest landslide we've seen in modern history. And it's pretty evident here that, Trump would win a huge election. And we're going to be filling out a map that has to do with that. We're going to fill out this map over here, and we're going to see what exactly will go down if it ends up being Trump versus Harris. And to begin with these safe states, we're going to characterize all the states that Donald Trump would have safe against Joe Biden, and then we're going to add a few on top of that. So all of these states here would be safe. We're adding Texas and Florida, Maine 2nd District. Trump would win all these states by 12% percentage points or more very easily. Even in a Trump versus Biden rematch, we can see that states like Florida and Texas would be kind of close to that safe margin, because the polls are just so bad for Joe Biden there. So we can imagine how much worse they would be for Kamala Harris, since we see those polls over here. We see that even if this scenario were to unfold, he's up 6.6% nationally. And let's remember that Joe Biden won the national popular vote by around 4.5. So think about that 10, 11 point shift to the right, which would be catastrophic for the Democrats in virtually every single state. And that's why in the Democrat safe column, we could only really add like these safest states to this column. I think, this would be it for them. This would be all they would win in that 12-point up margin because of how horrible Kamala Harris would be as a candidate. And then moving on to likely states, I think states like Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina would all be in the easily in that likely column. Unfortunately, we do not have any polls between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump in many of the swing states. There hasn't been much polling because of the chances of this unfolding is pretty low, but we can, use these polls over here, Trump versus Biden, and just adjust those margins. So we have Trump plus 5 in Arizona, And just add a few points, Trump plus 7, 8, Georgia, Trump plus 10 even, I see. We have the state of Nevada, which I also see, Trump plus 10. North Carolina, the same thing, Trump plus 10. And this could be, added even further. I think that Donald Trump would win the state of Pennsylvania in the likely column in this scenario. Maybe even the state of Wisconsin. I think, it's just so, bad for her. Trump plus 2 even in Pennsylvania. And in the state of Wisconsin, we see Trump plus 0.3. And Wisconsin is the state, one of those states that, underestimates Trump the most. Remember when it was Biden plus, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then, Clinton too here at plus 11. And Trump ended up winning the state. So this is the likely states, I believe, for this, this scenario. And then I think, states that Kamala Harris would win by a likely margin: Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, Maine's 1st congressional district. These are all states that even right now, and the state of New York, and these are all states that right now even Joe Biden is struggling in many of them. In New Jersey, there's some polls that have come out that have it as a lean margin even. There's some polls out of New York from Siena College that have been consistently releasing under 10-point margins for Joe Biden. So, just think about how much worse it would be for the Democrats if they end up running Kamala Harris. And this is why I think them even taking out Joe Biden and replacing him with Kamala Harris would be such a negative impact on the presidential race that they wouldn't even want to do it. And many people are going to say, how about other candidates? Why can they switch Joe Biden for Obama, like Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom? But Michelle Obama would have ran if she wanted to already in the 2020 cycle, and she's stayed pretty quiet. Gavin Newsom too. He's stayed pretty quiet. He could have ran on the 2020 cycle against Trump if he really wanted to. I don't think these candidates right now really want to run against Trump. I don't even think they would win. I think Michelle Obama would have the highest chance because she is relatively popular due to her, her husband, and her figure is not really tarnished like Kamala is. But I still think that, they don't want to face Trump, and Joe Biden is the only guy. And with his age and everything, it's becoming very hard for the Democratic Party to put someone that can possibly take down Trump. And, Kamala Harris would be worse than Joe Biden. I would give her probably less than 5% chance of even being able to beat Donald Trump, no matter who her VP choice would be. Anyways, we're going to go into the lean states now. And the lean states for Republicans are going to be the states of Michigan, Minnesota, Maine at large, Nebraska second. I'm putting in likely, actually. And then the state of New Hampshire. This is pretty easy for me to show that, all these states, especially Michigan, Minnesota, you should shift them a few more points to the right. And, we're going to see how badly that would look for Kamala Harris. Let's remember, Minnesota is not a state that is super Democrat. In 2016, Hillary Clinton only won it by 1.5% due to those third-party candidates. I expect if Kamala Harris does end up going against Trump in that unlikely scenario, there would be a pretty high third-party choice, because not a lot of people are going to want to vote for Kamala Harris. A lot of those voters that are voting for Joe Biden would end up just voting third-party. It would give Trump and his base a lot more leeway to win states that they usually, I think, would not win when it's just Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. And so these would be the lean states. And then I think lean state for Joe Biden would be just the state of Colorado. Colorado, I don't even see any way, no matter what, of Republicans to winning, even if it's the state, even if it's a Kamala Harris. I mean, maybe in 2016 it would have been possible when it was only Hillary Clinton but 5. But going from plus 5 Democrat to D plus 13.5 is something that cannot really be reversed just like that. And this state is probably firm in the Democratic column now. But I think Republicans are going to win these states of New Mexico and Virginia in the tilt column. And Trump would end up winning 347 electoral votes to Harris's 191. This would be definitely a modern landslide, well, landslide in today's terms. And I think Trump would end up winning the popular vote by, what it says over here. I think Trump plus 6, probably Trump plus 7 even. And, he probably would hit maybe that 50% threshold in the popular vote. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris would be in the low 40s for sure. She does not stand a chance against Donald Trump at all. And the polls even say so, the little polls that we have, but, just her unlikability just shows that she wouldn't really stand a chance. And I think the Democrats are really looking at that factor alone. I think maybe that if Kamala Harris was a little more popular, they'd be talking about that replacement a little sooner. But right now it's way too late. It's already the end of June. We have the DNC conventions coming up. We got the RNC conventions coming up. We got the debates coming up in 6 days, 5-6 days. And, it's the cycle is really going to kick off now. So replacing a candidate at this point in time would be a huge disadvantage. It would definitely disrupt that system as a whole. And I don't think anybody right now is even predicting it. And we can see that even there have been some of these poly market kind of betting markets that have been made. And it does actually ask people, they bet money on this and they say, is Biden going to drop out of the race? And it does say that he has a 24% chance of dropping out. That has gone up consistently. It was at 14%. It's gone up to 25. I don't know what's drawing it to go up a little bit, maybe because Donald Trump's been gaining more popularity still and some stuff's been going on with Joe Biden, but I think that's going to drop back down, especially after the debates. We can see here there's a lot of betting markets here, and we can see after the debates, what is the chance that Joe Biden drops out? 5% chance that he will drop out, and that is down considerably from before where there was a chance. But now I think people really understand that it is going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. It is most likely that 95% chance that I was saying that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are going to face in that rematch, because the Democrats know that they're going to face a map similar like this, and they don't want to get blown out like this bad. And they already know that Joe Biden is right now not the favorite to win, and that Donald Trump right now does have the edge in the Electoral College. But it could be worse for them, and it could spell out some trends that could carry out into 2028, where they could be facing a lot of losses in Minnesota, New Mexico, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Maine, and they don't want to go down that fat path and really disrupt their party like that. So I think right now this is really unlikely, but this is what the map would look like if it was Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And one more little thing that I want to touch upon in this video, not really a little thing, a pretty important thing to say the least, but something that's going to come up soon. I wanted to go over it, and it is who is going to be Trump's running mate. And Trump's running mate, it's going to serve a pretty important factor, but it's not going to make, that day and night difference, but it is going to be important nonetheless. And here's his short list, and we're going to go through some of these candidates. First, we have J.D. Vance out of Ohio. I think Vance would be a pretty good contender. I think he's pretty popular in his state, and he would be good for the Rust Belt over here in the state of Ohio, and that appeal in the Midwest area. We have Marco Rubio in Florida, who's another contender. I don't think he's going to pick Rubio, though. One of the people who have been really striking out recently is Doug Burgum. He is the governor of North Dakota, and that's someone who's been sticking out. He's also, a former tech executive. He's pretty wealthy, and he's a successful businessman who is now the governor of the state of North Dakota. We have Tim Scott, who's from South Carolina, who's been going around a lot. We have Ben Carson, who has also been coming up recently. We have Elise Stefanik out of New York. We have Byron Donalds out of Florida, Tom Cotton out of Arkansas. I don't really think this one's too likely, though. And we have some more that have not been included here. Some people talk about Nikki Haley, but that's definitely not going to be an option. Some people talk about Tulsi Gabbard being on that short list. But I think right now, even though I'm not too sure what's going to happen, I think, Doug Burgum would probably be on that top of that list for him. Or at least Stefanik, or maybe someone like Ben Carson. I don't know if Donald Trump's going to want to pick someone from the South, since he is already from Florida, and it would be a little bit of an issue to have his VP also being from Florida. So that might kick out some of those potentials for a VP that home state is from Florida as well. But either way, I think Donald Trump will want to pick a VP candidate who really appeals to the Midwest, to suburban women especially, someone more moderate. Maybe the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, would also be a good guy, and that's not really included on this VP shortlist either on this site, on Forbes, but on other websites it is included, like on CNN. And just we're gonna have to see. But in my eyes, I think the Trump campaign right now should be looking to improve things that really costed him that 2020 election. It would be those suburban women. I think that's the most important demographic to gain on. If Trump gains on those women a lot, then he's going to win a lot of these states easily. He would win in Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia without a doubt, and he would definitely do a lot better in states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan and secure him that presidency with just gaining among that demographic group. I think Donald Trump's already gaining a lot with those minorities, so it's not like he needs that big push with those minorities, but he does need that push from that moderate that will bring back home those women that originally don't really like Trump's personality too much. They may like his policies, but they're not too keen on his personality. So I think that VP choice that really brings them back home, makes them feel comfortable with Trump's personality, would definitely shape that election to be in his favor. But that's all going to be for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down in the section below, and I'll check you guys out in the next one.